I'm 17 years old, and what I'm about to share happened about 6 months ago on a Friday night. It's the kind of experience that stays with you, and not in a good way. It all started after school. I had just finished an exhausting week filled with tests and late-night study sessions, so I wanted to unwind. My parents had gone out for dinner to celebrate their anniversary, and my little brother was sleeping over at a friend's house. That left me home alone. Not that I minded. I planned to spend the evening binging a new horror series everyone had been talking about. By the time I settled on the couch with my snacks and a blanket, it was already 9 p.m. The house was quiet except for the occasional creak of the old wood floors. The first episode started, and within minutes, I was hooked. The eerie music and suspenseful build-up had me so absorbed that I almost didn't notice when I heard a faint noise coming from upstairs. At first, I thought it was just the house settling. Old houses make weird noises, right? But then I heard it again, a soft, rhythmic sound. It seemed like it was coming from my brother's room. It's probably nothing, I told myself, trying to focus back on the show. But my curiosity got the better of me. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. As I climbed the stairs, the sound grew louder, more deliberate. When I reached my brother's room, I hesitated. The door was slightly ajar, and through the crack, I could see that his desk lamp was on. That was strange because I was sure I'd turned off all the lights upstairs earlier. Pushing the door open slowly, I peeked inside. The room was empty. No one was there. The sound had stopped, but something felt off. My brother's closet door was slightly open, just enough for a sliver of darkness to peek through. I stared at it for a moment, uneasy. I finally mustered up the courage to walk over and swing the closet door open. Nothing, just a pile of clothes and some old toys. Letting out a shaky breath, I laughed at myself for being so paranoid. I turned off the desk lamp, closed the door, and headed back downstairs. Everything was fine for the next hour. I'd almost forgotten about the weird noises when, out of nowhere, the TV screen flickered and went black. At first, I thought it was a power outage, but the lights in the room were still on. I grabbed the remote and tried turning the TV back on, but it wouldn't work. That's when I heard it again, a faint, repetitive sound. This time, it was louder, and it wasn't coming from upstairs. It was coming from the kitchen. My stomach sank. Gripping my phone tightly, I walked toward the kitchen, every step feeling heavier than the last. The noise grew louder as I approached the doorway. When I stepped into the kitchen, I froze. The back door, which had been locked earlier, was wide open, swinging slightly in the breeze. The sound? It was the screen door slapping gently against the frame. I closed the door quickly, locking it and double-checking that all the other doors and windows were secure. By this point, I was on edge. I texted my parents, letting them know what had happened. My mom replied, telling me to stay calm and keep the doors locked. They'd be home soon. I tried to relax, but something about the whole situation didn't sit right with me. I decided to do one last sweep of the house to make sure everything was secure. Starting upstairs, I checked every room, every closet, and under every bed. Nothing. Finally, I went back to the living room and settled on the couch, telling myself I was just overthinking things. About 10 minutes later, I heard it again, but this time, it wasn't tapping. It was heavy, deliberate footsteps, coming from upstairs. I froze. I knew for a fact that I just checked every room up there. There was no way anyone could have gotten inside. I grabbed a fireplace poker and crept up the stairs as quietly as I could. My hands were trembling, and my breathing felt shallow. The footsteps had stopped, but I could feel that I wasn't alone. I reached the top of the stairs and scanned the hallway. All the doors were closed except for mine. It was slightly open, just like my brother's had been earlier. My chest tightened as I approached the door. I pushed it open with the poker, expecting to see something or someone, but the room was empty. Then I noticed something that made my stomach churn. The window. It was wide open, the curtains blowing gently in the breeze. I knew I hadn't left it open. Someone had been in my room. Fear took over, and I bolted back downstairs, locking myself in the bathroom. My hands were shaking so badly that it took me 3 tries to dial 911. The operator's calm voice did little to soothe my nerves as I explained what had happened. They assured me that officers were on their way and told me to stay on the line. A few minutes later, I heard a knock at the front door. I whispered into the phone, asking if it was the police. The operator confirmed that officers had arrived. I cautiously left the bathroom and opened the door to find 2 uniformed officers standing there. Relief washed over me as they stepped inside and began checking the house. As one of the officers was inspecting the backyard, he called out to his partner. I followed them outside and saw what he'd found: footprints in the dirt leading away from the house. They were large, too big to belong to me or anyone in my family. The trail led to the back fence, where it disappeared. The officers assured me they'd patrol the area and keep an eye out for anything suspicious. They stayed until my parents got home, which wasn't long after. My mom hugged me tightly, tears in her eyes, while my dad spoke with the officers. That night, we didn't sleep. None of us did. My dad installed extra locks on all the doors and windows the next day, and we set up security cameras around the house. For weeks, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every creak, every shadow, sent my nerves spiraling. To this day, we still don't know who it was or what they wanted. The police never found any leads. All I know is that someone was in my house that night, and they were watching me. It's a feeling I wouldn't wish on anyone. If you're ever home alone and hear something strange, don't ignore it. Trust your instincts. And most importantly, stay safe.